Leo XIV just released an apostolic letter called In Unitate Fidei, in the unity of faith. And on the surface, it is beautiful. He invokes Saint Athanasius 5 times. He affirms Homooúsios, the Nicene Declaration, that Christ is consubstantial with the Father. He quotes the Church Fathers. He calls for unity around the Creed. And these are all beautiful aspects. And if you just skim the document, you'd think, finally, sanity is returning to the Vatican and things are on the right track. But here's the problem, and this is why I'm brought this up during our tonight's live stream. Good words can carry bad theology, and Rome has gotten very, very good at dressing up Pierre Teilhard de Chardin in Nicene robes. Tonight, Felix and I are going to dig into this, and we're going to show you 3 specific phrases that reveal what's actually happening in this letter. You don't need a theology degree to spot it. You just need to know what to look for. Because if they can redefine what Nicaea means and meant, they can redefine anything. So first of all, let me show you what makes this letter look orthodox, because the deception only works when the bait is attractive. Leo XIV cites Athanasius directly, and he's one of my favorite saints. For those of you who don't know, Saint Athanasius faced a difficult time in the church, the Arian controversy. Over 2/3 of the world's bishops apostatized from the faith, or they were at least heretical. And it took the intervention of Constantine and the council to set the church back on rights. And so God used the mechanism of the day to sort out the error. And Athanasius himself ended up exiled and even excommunicated, I believe it was up to 5 times. And so Athanasius, he's the author of the famous quote, "They have the buildings, we have the faith." In other words, he was kicked out of the church buildings. Athanasius remained faithful, and the church was restored with God's good help. And the parallels are very clear today, where we have 2 competing visions of what the church and Christianity is. For example, we have the Athanasian view, the triune God, an immutable God, and the Teilhardian view, which is the common form of Christianity across denomination in the 21st century. And again, once you see it, you can't really unsee it. But, you know, it's one of these things, because modernists, like modern leftists, use the same language. They just redefine things. And then it's sort of like it's a stealth conversion away from the truth. So Leo XIV cites Athanasius directly 5 times. He references the Cappadocian Fathers. He quotes St. Augustine. He uses phrases like God became man so that man might become God. Classic patristic teaching on theosis. He even takes a shot at Arianism, 4th century heresy that denied Christ's divinity. He writes the Arian crisis threatened to fragment the church, but the Council of Nicaea stood firm. Beautiful, orthodox, traditional. He also affirms that Christ is of one substance with the Father, and that's the nuclear core of the Nicene Orthodoxy. And that's what Athanasius was exiled 5 times for defending. So what's the problem? The problem is that Athanasius is being used as cover for something he would have fought to death against. Let me show you how that works. So in paragraph 1, you can find the link in the description if you want to follow along in the document. In paragraph 1, Leo writes, "The faith professed in the Creed of Nicaea, Constantinople, must be professed and understood in ever new and relevant ways." Now that sounds pretty harmless, right? Of course, we need to communicate the faith in ways that people can understand. But watch the language carefully. He's not saying we need to proclaim the unchanging faith clearly. He's saying that the faith must be understood in ever new and relevant ways. And that's a Teilhardian idea, that the truth itself evolves as human consciousness evolves. You see where this is going? And then contrast that with what Athanasius actually believed. In his festal letters, Athanasius writes, "Let us not hold the faith in any other manner than as it was given to us by the blessed apostles. For it is not man who has invented it, but the Lord himself who has declared it." Athanasius believed in immutable truth, meaning it doesn't change. And that immutable truth was delivered once and for all. not truth that needs ever new understanding, as if the creed itself is incomplete. And these modernists, they just make up stuff and then they blame the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost. They just say, oh, well, it's the Spirit telling us stuff. The Spirit's is not going to contradict himself. God's truth is immutable. So these older conceptions of Christianity, which have been forgotten since the 1960s, still hold true today. And they'll never change. From God's perspective, God's outside of time. How can they change? So do you see the difference? Because like I said, again, if you've never thought about this before and you get it, you'll never unsee it. You'll see that all this synodal church garbage is them just trying to rewrite the faith and give us a new religion. So the thing is that the second phrase we're going to look at, what Leo said, is in paragraph 12. And he says that we must therefore leave behind theological controversies that have lost the raison d'etre, the reason to be, in order to develop a common understanding. Wait, which controversies exactly? He mentions the filioque, the debate about whether the Holy Ghost proceeds from the Father and the Son or from the Father alone. That's a 1,000-year-old division between East and West. That has that lost its reason to be? Has that been resolved? Or are we just declaring it an obsolete argument? This is kind of a linguistic trick. It frames the objective theological disputes as historically expired, not relevant anymore. And it works because so many people, like if you're a Westerner, you don't know much about the filioque unless you've gone to some sort of seminary or theological school. It's not really something that comes up in the day-to-day life of a Catholic or a Presbyterian or what have you. But it does come up when you're talking to Orthodox scholars. And so the thing is that because it's not an issue for most, he sort of slips it in there that it's an expired, it's no longer an issue. But truth doesn't have an expiration date. So Leo the 13th, the other Leo, the Leo I like, the pre-Vatican II one, wrote in Satis Cognitum in 1896, the Church has never failed to lift up her voice against all error, in such wise that no room is left for the notion that the Catholic faith can be reconciled with the denial of even a single truth. So notice no room. Not, well, that controversy was relevant in the 16th century, but we've evolved past it now. What Leo XIV is smuggling in here is the idea that theological truth is relative to historical context. And he's been caught on a mic saying just this on a number of occasions. So that it's pure Teilhard. And that's the evolutionary process-driven framework that even doctrine develops and matures over time. Athanasius would have called that heresy very clearly. In paragraph 9, there's another subtle, but it's revealing. So I'll read from the paragraph 9 of the document. The path that began with sacred scripture and led to the profession of faith in Nicaea, subsequently accepted in Constantinople and Chalcedon, and again in the 16th and 21st centuries, has been a long and consistent one. So did you catch that? Scripture to Nicaea, to Constantinople, to Chalcedon, and the 16th and 21st centuries. So what happened in the 16th century? The Reformation or the Revolution, depending on your perspective. Council of Trent. What happens in the 21st century? Vatican II, ecumenism, synodality. So Leo is drawing a straight, consistent line from Nicaea to now. He's saying it's all one seamless development. Don't worry, nothing's changed. Whereas Catholics like myself say, no, there's a rupture. There's been a rupture since the 60s. And people just don't want to see it. They want to pretend that their faith of their great-grandparents is the same as the faith professed today. It's so ridiculous they can't even follow their 1990s catechism. They change things so often. So how can it be the same? It can't. You have to be ingesting some pretty crazy mushrooms to think that it did. Or you're a liar. So that's your two choices. Crazy psychedelic medication or lying. So the thing is that it's only true if you accept the Teilhardian premise that development equals evolution and that evolution is always progress. Not everything that's new is improved. When I was a kid, it was popular to put it on every little product. New and improved, new and improved, new and improved. It's like it was coded into us to think that things are new and improved. Well, in many cases, what's new, what's in the 21st century is a regress from what came before. on a whole number of fronts, everything from your neighborhood safety to how long your refrigerator or washer and dryer last, to whether an operating system on the computer, whether the updates break it or not. We're regressing, not progressing on a lot of fronts. Athanasius didn't believe in doctrinal development. Oh, Bishop Meikle, you just don't understand development of doctrine, not like us smart people. Are you bleeping kidding me? Of course I did. 8 years of formal study in theology, 4 of which were seminary. And the thing is that, of course, we always harped on about doctrinal development, but proper development is organic. An acorn can become an oak tree, but a puppy doesn't become a lion. So there's organic development, which is legitimate, and there's rupture. And so Athanasius believed in doctrinal defense. In his work De Decretis, he writes, "The faith confessed by the fathers at Nicaea is enough for all godliness and refutation of heresy. Let no one add to it." Let no one add to it. But Leo XIV is adding to it. He's saying, yes, Nicaea was great, but we need to understand it in new ways. We need to move beyond outdated disputes. We're on a consistent path of development. That's not Athanasius, that's Teilhard. And for those of you who have been hanging around any length of time, I always harp on about this book, Lord of the World, by Hugh Benson in 1907. He wrote it. And it's textbook Benson. And so it helps. It's an allegorical fiction about the end times. And it's well worth your read. It's 99 cents on Kindle. And you might want to look into it. So what's happening here? Leo XIV's letter uses Athanasius' words to baptize Teilhard's God. Let me make this crystal clear. Athanasius' true God is unchanging, eternal, absolute, ontologically distinct from creation, and that includes time, revealed once for all in Christ, defended by holding fast to tradition, one God in 3 persons. Teilhard's false God, which and it's not just a Catholic problem. If we have some Protestants watching here or some non-denominationals or what have you, guess what? It's in all the Christian traditions. It's like a computer virus. It's in all of us. The Teilhard, and on the Protestant side, it's Whitehead that was the theologian that sort of introduced it to Protestantism. But Teilhard's God is evolving through history. It's immanent in the cosmic process. It's revealed progressively as humanity matures, and it's discovered by moving beyond old disputes. And often it wears a Marxist globalist face in this current age. So one of these gods is of Christianity, and the other one is baptized Hegelianism. And those of you who have taken any university philosophy know all about Hegel and his dialectic. And that's what's been going on for the last 60 years. They're rewriting the very operating system of Christianity so that you'll think that was always that way. And that's why you must read old books. You must read old books. You must read the lives of the old saints, not the recently canonized ones, the old ones. And then you'll see the bait and switch that was perpetrated upon you. So the thing is, it's a wonder to me that there hasn't been a class action suit, that some smarty pants lawyer wouldn't fundraise for the the research costs and everything. But I mean, you could demonstrate that modern Christian churches don't follow their own doctrine. They don't even try. What's in their actual books, it's ridiculous. Like I say, in the Catholic world, they can't even follow their 1990s catechism. So it really is quite a scandal when you reflect on it. In my school of thought, I'm of the school of thought that sunshine is the best disinfectant. There are some that say, oh, don't confuse people, you'll scandalize them. Well, my goodness, folks, why do you think the churches are struggling to keep young people and what have you? Because they feel lied to. And if they don't trust the church, why do they not trust the church? They don't trust the church because if they read and they see that what's being taught from the pulpit is different than what's in the books, then who's telling me the truth? And why did they change? Did they get golden plates like the Mormons? Is celestial facts an email from someone holy? No, they just pull it out of their buttocks and say and pretend that we always taught it this way. And that's just not true. So the thing is that this is the truly diabolical genius of this letter. is that it sounds orthodox, and it quotes all the right fathers, and it affirms all the right formulas. But the framework, the underlying metaphysics is Teilhardian. Why does that matter? Because if they can redefine Nicaea, they can redefine anything, like the Trinity, like the Incarnation. Look at what they did to our Blessed Mother the last couple of weeks, messing around with her titles that she's been known for centuries. If the creed itself can evolve to meet contemporary needs, if theological controversies can simply lose their raison d'etre, if we're on a consistent path that smoothly incorporates Vatican II, the rupture of Vatican II, and the Protestant Revolution into the trajectory from Nicaea, then there is no unchanging deposit of faith. And by the way, for those of you who are Bishop Strickland fans, and again, I take him at his word. I mean, I'm sure we have plenty of disagreements in certain things, but I believe the man is a sincere Catholic Christian, and he has been horribly treated. But one of the things allegedly was said to him was the papal ambassador, the nuncio, Cardinal Pierre, told Bishop Strickland there is no deposit of faith. And there's been since some scuttlebutt sort of semi-walking back that original report. But let's look at how they're treating it. They're definitely treating like there's no deposit of faith. So if there's no deposit of faith, and by the way, that phrase has been in use in the early church for like the year 200, 300, thereabouts. So that's a very ancient phrase. And bishops and popes and cardinals and priests and even baptized lay people, but especially the people with formal teaching authority, we're supposed to store this deposit of faith. And basically, if you follow Teilhard, there is no such thing as deposit of faith. And that's reportedly what Pierre said, allegedly. There's only process, no deposit, only evolution, only Teilhard's omega point, masquerading as the true God, the God of Athanasius. So what do we do with this? First, we learn to read between the lines. Don't just ask, does this sound orthodox? Did the person reading it wear nice vestments? Ask what framework is he operating from? What metaphysics is underneath the pious language? Second, hold fast to what was delivered once for all. Athanasius was exiled 5 times for refusing to compromise, cast outside the formal church. We don't have to be exiled, but we do have to be willing to say, no, that's not what Nicaea means. That's not what the fathers taught. And as an aside, Canon 19 of Nicaea is also the source of where we can never ordain women. So if they start messing with Nicaea, Lord only knows where this is going to go. Third, don't be fooled by good words carrying bad theology. The serpent in the garden quoted scripture. The Arians at Nicaea used orthodox sounding language, and Rome today will quote Athanasius while advancing an agenda Athanasius would have died resisting. Athanasius would not recognize a modern Catholic church as Catholic. There's no way. He'd walk in, he'd look at this and say, what kind of circus is this? And walk out. And this is how far we've strayed from the old faith. And it's just heartbreaking. I'm going to be doing a full theological breakdown of this letter on my Substack. Some of you subscribe to it. The link is in the description below. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into patristic text, compare this to the Vatican II papal teaching, and show how Teilhard's framework has been smuggled into the magisterial documents. But for now, I'll leave you with the Nicene Creed does not have to be made relevant. It does not need ever new understandings. For all that's good and holy, please, no more new and crazy. We need to become the kind of people that can hear this. And that's the problem. The thing is, the other book, I mentioned Lord of the World all the time. Do you know another one? Speaking of which, now, one of my viewers and friends got me this down the rabbit hole because that's what I often do. C.S. Lewis, in his children's book, Chronicles of Narnia, that's really brilliant. Chronicles of Narnia started off as some short stories for some children that were moved to the countryside to escape the bombs of the Blitzkrieg in London. And so it was common for people like C.S. Lewis who had country homes to take in some children so they'd be safe during the bombings. And he didn't know what to do with children. He didn't have them around. So what he did was he read them, told them stories, made up the stories. And the collection of stories became the book The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is why, if you look at it, it's really sort of disjointed. It doesn't have sort of a consistent flow like the other books in his series. But then he wrote a prequel and then a bunch of sequels to that. And I'm convinced, and let me know in the comments if you agree with me, if you've read it. I'm convinced. I never read it as a child. And because it was all these references through various theological writers mentioning it here and there, I went and I read it as an adult. And I thought, wow, he really does made quite the Christian allegory. But if you look at the sixth book, The Silver Chair, that's where our world is right now. It's numb. It's numb that the truth is all around it, but everybody's under the spell. And the spell is of numbness. And so every once in a while, I get a little spicy on Twitter, and some people don't like my bluntness or my candor or what have you. But the reason why I do this, and I can be fire and brimstone from the pulpit as well. And then if you meet me for coffee or a beer, you'll find that I'm, fairly laid back. And there's a reason for this. It's the right tool for the right job. So in certain contexts, like even this video, I want to wake people up. But then in our discussion afterwards, you're going to see a little more relaxed side. And that's so we can ponder this stuff, and you can feel that, you're safe to disagree with me or what have you. You certainly are. But see, here's the thing. That book described an enthrallment of a people. And I just see that postmodern Christians are really numb to what God is asking for them. They're completely numb to the first commandment. It's all about making them feel good or comfortable or entertained or belonging in a community. But nowhere in there is the first commandment. When God is trotted out, he's used as a prop. And that's so offensive. When you think about it, our Lord Jesus was only physically violent once recorded in the gospel. He might have been more. But the one recorded instance of him getting physically violent, he made a whip of cords and he beat the stuffing out of some people. Do you remember why? Because they defiled his father's house. And, when people retell that story in modern times, they always focus on that the occupation of the individuals was that they were money changers, but they miss the point, is that we as a church in all of our various groups, all of the baptized, we have been defiling the Father's house. We have not been following the first commandment adequately. We have not been living lives according to the demands of our baptism. And don't take my word for it. Read old books. Read St. Alphonsus Liguori, read Thomas Aquinas, read Francis de Sales, read these old saints, and they will give you a much more healthier view of Christianity than the ukulele and the monkeys on trapeze and all the stuff that passes for modern Christianity in this day. So, Felix, what do you make of this? Are you surprised?
Not surprised, but first, real quick, Father, it's been bugging me. You might want to get a little bit more center frame for the vertical camera.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, guys. You know what? I forget that we're on vertical now.
Yeah. So, no, you look
thank
great.
You, Felix.
That's perfect. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. You were definitely on a good roll there. And
my apologies to the folks watching me on vertical. I'm going to get better. There's a repeater. I think I've told you that, guys, this before. I have a screen just below the camera that I broadcast my, the video there, so I can just sort of see what you see, and I look down at that from time to time. But I didn't notice. Now I have another panel that shows the vertical one.
Basically, I don't know if don't think I'm surprised. Disappointed. Really quick, I know you mentioned the filioque. That is like such a big deal. That was the initial. That was it, right? That's like the main. That's the main argument that separated Catholics from Orthodox, or at least in the top three, right? Or
yeah. So the thing is, apart from the filioque, I mean, there are theological differences, but they're not huge differences. Like, what I found, sort of just anecdotally, we'll just step aside from the theology for a moment, just to, if you're born Orthodox, then this is not an issue when you're talking to Catholics. The only people that really bring up filioque as far as like a obviously, if you're going to talk about full communion, if you're, so obviously theologians are going to refer to it, and ex-Catholics who become Orthodox, this is what they'll trumpet. And the short version, what do the kids call it? TLDR version or whatever?
Yeah, too long, didn't read.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
the short version is this. The original Nicene Creed, the Greeks use it, and we have a modified version. So you can see from their point of view, the creed that was actually signed off on at Nicaea is theirs. So they're like, Catholics, why don't you use it? The reason why we don't use it is because the addition is correct from the Western perspective, right? We obviously, and to take it away now, we would believe would offend God. So where it came from was some Spanish theologians that were dealing with a resurgence of Arianism, and they added a clarifying point. Now, whether this was because of the way translations worked or not, again, there's people that have more expertise on why it happened and how it evolved. What we're concerned with now as Catholic clergy and faithful is the filioque true? What would be a proper compromise is we really should be reciting the exact same creed, right? But I think what probably could be done is that to acknowledge both forms. And but the thing is, when it comes down to it, and there's brilliant arguments from Orthodox, there's 3-hour videos you can watch. The Orthodox, hold their position, and there's also Catholic apologists back and forth. But really, it boils down to you're asking us to ponder the mystery of how the Trinity works, right? In detail,
right.
So from a Catholic perspective, the way I look at it is I trust the mechanism magisterium of the Church. I hate to say it, but Leo in the past 60 years has only been given the Orthodox points, right?
Yeah.
So it has. But that said, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I have some, very strong disagreements. I would always use the filioque. I would refuse to, if Leo came out, or if, where it's part of the Western tradition, so that's not changing. And then I don't think the East is going to change. So basically, the only way I see out of that thorn bush is either God sends an angel or makes it known definitively, or he just allows both forms. So it's interesting. So if you disagree with me or agree with me, put it in the comments. That right there, Felix, you could do like 10 2-hour sessions, like a university class, just on this. You probably could do. You could probably do 5 years worth of that.
That's right.
Because
guys,
there's lots of holy and smart people that have weighed in on this on both sides. But at least, so what should the lay Catholic or the lay Orthodox know? You should know your church's position, and you should have a general idea why. And for Catholics who say the Orthodox don't have a leg to stand on, they're wrong. The Orthodox do have a leg to stand on. I don't agree with it, but it's not unreasonable. They're
seeking the real, true, and good.
Right. Absolutely. And also, it's not, at the end of the day, the reason why I mentioned if you find someone that's born Orthodox, it's not an issue to them, is, again, it's one of these things that in terms of how you live the faith, in terms of how you understand the sacraments, in terms of it's not really this, it's important, but it's not one of these things that people should be going to war over or hating one another over. There's far more bigger deals right now. Like it's funny now, an ex-Catholic who becomes Orthodox, that's all they want to talk about, filioque.
Because I've done the deep dives, and I hear a lot from the Orthodox perspective. Like I said, Jay Dyer does a really good series on it. Whether you agree or disagree, it is very informative. But
it boils down to what authority you trust, right?
Exactly.
So really, that's ultimately what it boils down to. Is that, and we've gotten away with that in 21st century. Even the most devout of us will pick and choose, or have the temptation to, right?
Yeah.
So it's it boils down to what authority do you trust, and that authority comes under a bishop, either an Orthodox bishop or a Catholic bishop. And You know, basically you let them worry about it. And if they taught you wrong, then they're in trouble, not you. You know, as long as they're not asking you to sin. But on things like, you know, theological topics like the Assumption of our Blessed Mother, the Filioque, these are important things. But again, the average layperson is not going to, you know, they're not going to be upset that their friend, the Orthodox, doesn't accept a certain doctrine that the Catholic does, and vice versa, or doesn't have the same emphasis. They're at this stage, when you have Pachamamas being trotted out, when you have Orthodox reconfirming and rebaptizing in some cases, like these are sacrilegious, right? So there's sacrilegious on both sides too.
Sure.
And I think that, again, you want to unite the people that are looking for restoration.
Well, yeah, this is, I think, where we might see this new church, or just a revelation of the real church. And I think it's going to kind of transcend the buildings and the structures to a certain degree, but you know, that sounds really hippy dippy.
Are you talking about the faithful, or are you talking about
yes.
Lord of the World?
Yes, the faithful, like you know, yeah. Again, you know, definitely take my statements with a grain of salt. I'm not a theologian either, and I definitely defer to you know, Father Meikle and the like, but yeah, no, I kind of feel like there's going to be this revelation that it is going to transcend religions to a certain degree, at least as far as people, you know, that people who are looking for Jesus, looking for the Lord, looking for, you know, believe in the Trinity, you know, there's certain basics into it, but again, this ties into my famous Mr. Rogers goes to heaven, even though he's not Catholic. At least that's my hope. And again, you know, to avoid the sin of presumption.
Well,
but yeah,
I would strongly doubt that if someone loses their soul, it's over the Filioque. Right. I'm telling you, the saved, if Alphonsus right, the saved are few, but anyone who wants to go to heaven can. I know that sounds contradictory. We've talked about this in other live streams, but it's not contradictory at all. But it's but the thing is like I say, there's just you know, there's probably people out there that would argue, oh, our Blessed Mother had blue eyes because it was a sign of, you know, I mean, this kind of stuff. And it's like, then someone says, well, no, she's from, you know, of course she's going to have brown eyes. And then a big fight ensues. And I mean, I'm just saying, like, you realize how silly this is when there's Pachamamas and communion in the hand,
right?
Gay blessings, right?
Darth Vader mass and
Darth Vader masses. So, you know, I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying, like, there are people that have done excellent scholarly unpacks on YouTube that you can watch on both sides. I would encourage you to watch both sides. And I'll write out a bit, like a little bit more of a theologically robust commentary on the Substack. But because it's a different forum. And the great thing about Substack is, you know, you read what's interest, you skim it, you read it deeply or shallowly, and then there's all the footnotes. And then you either consider the footnotes, or you could be not in the mood for any footnotes and just read the beginning, read the end, say, oh, that's what he's saying, you know. So and basically I can give you the summary here is I think that I just don't trust Leo, and I don't trust postmodern. I don't trust Tuccio or the bishops in the Vatican. I think that they are trying to present us a new religion, and they're using synodality and you know, nice vestments and throwing a bone at the Latin Mass crowd from time to time. I think they're using it as a cover. And the thing is, you got some people, they will scream. They will actually scream at people like me and Father Martin and others, and they'll just say, you know, you guys are, you know, it's because of the stuff you say that Francis and Leo are going to take away my Latin Mass. They're going to make us go in the gym. And it's like, good grief. Do you not understand this battle? This battle is not whether you get a pretty Mass, right? Yeah, of course we want the Latin Mass restored, with the TLM restored. But the thing is that it's not meant to be restored on a reservation. It's not meant to be restored to hide in the basement. It's meant to become the normative Mass of the West. And it'll be interesting. You know, we'll do a future video on it if it comes to be. But you know what the rumor is, Felix? The rumor is that they're going to actually edit the Novus Ordo, the new Mass, and they're going to make a new Mass. And apparently they're going to incorporate some elements that make it more solemn and traditional, because they understand that things have been getting a little crazy. But whenever they do this, whenever they throw us a bone, they also put in some poison somewhere. So we'll see. I mean, I've been in this adventure of, if you count time in seminary, time as a lay person, daily mass attender, time as clergy, I've been around this for many, many years, 30 plus years. And I got to say, like, there's a constant theme, and it's honesty is not one of these folks' charisms. Just not. They're concerned about optic, and they're concerned about donation, and they're not concerned about the first commandment or doctrinal fidelity. And the easiest way I can prove it to you is to point out they can't even follow their 1990s catechism. So if the modernists can't even follow their 1990s catechism without changing the teachings in it, and in significant ways, then what else are they going to change? What's going to change next week? What's going to change next month? So what's next? Are they going to say that our Lord had, that our Blessed Mother had lots of kids or something?
Yeah, listen, they've tried that before.
You watch. See, this is what they'll do. They won't ordain women to the diaconate, but they'll give them preaching faculties, and they'll let them do baptisms and weddings and funerals, and they'll just call them something else. And then they'll make the ceremony look a lot like an ordination. That's what they're going to do. So you mark my words. And then I tell my friends who have a Latin Mass and they're regular with the diocese, I said, well, I hope you enjoy the subdeaconess, singing the epistle. And they're like, it'll never happen. Oh, yes, it will, bunny skins. Yes, it will happen. Because you got to realize your regularity has a cost. Your regularity is that you are going to have to accept this. And if you don't, they'll close your church down, because they'll say, well, see, we try to meet you halfway, and you're just a mean trad.
Yep.
It's not about being mean. We just want the faith that our grandparents and great-grandparents had. That's all. Yeah. That's all. And you know what? If you want to do the new thing, then call it the Pauline Rite. Call it something else. It's not the Roman Rite. It's an invention. Yeah. It's born out of the buttocks of some people, at a cafe in Italy, writing on a napkin. That's where Second Eucharistic prayer came from. Oh no, Bishop Meikle, it's really the most ancient thing. It's Hippolytus or something. Give me a bleeping break. It was written on the back of a napkin in an Italian cafe. And the thing is, where do the schemas of Vatican II go? They don't follow Vatican II. They don't follow their catechism, even their modern one. So again, I don't mind you guys if you have a disagreement with me, good. Like, put it in the comments and let me have it. But I've read all the documents of Vatican II several times through, and in two different modes. When earlier years, I read it to try to apologize for it, to explain it, to explain it to traditionals and sedes, and then in around what was it, 2013 or so, I came to tradition. I trad-pilled, and I read through the documents again, but this time with the eye of, were they trying to slip in some subversions? And it was an eye-opener, and I encourage you to read the documents of the Second Vatican Council. You tell me we're communing the hands in there. It's not. I had somebody, this is a good one. I had someone complain to me that they, they don't like Latin, right? They go to, and I try to explain to them that our Lord himself, in his day, Hebrew was the sacral language. Aramaic was the language spoken. They're related, but there was a different language for prayer.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that. And then the thing is that they didn't know that Paul VI in 1973 or 4, I think it was 73, had a document called Jubilate Deo. And Jubilate Deo said all the lay people should know the Gloria, the Creed, and the basic prayers like the Our Father and the Hail Mary. They should know it all in Latin.
Yeah.
That's Paul VI. That's after Vatican II.
Wow.
Go ahead, look it up. Jubilate Deo. So the thing is that people just don't know this stuff. So, I get a kick out of it when people are tromping on about Vatican II. Listen, I've read Vatican II backwards and forwards. I used to be its defender. I'm not now. I think I understand. I've seen. Our Lord said to judge by the fruits. And man, oh man, did they take that literally in this day and age. And so you see what they do. So, no, they're trying to destroy the church from the inside.
Sorry. That was a little too literal. I'm sorry.
Down the rabbit hole.
Down the rabbit hole. Yeah. Yeah. This is a big mess. I was going to ask you, like, all right, so is the Pope kind of like stuck with the people around him and he has to work with what he has? Or does he have the authority to be like, you're stepping down, you have to step down, you have to step down. I want these people. Like, what's the level of authority he has
So
among,
yes, no. I mean, okay. So Benedict XVI, some of you guys are going to know this story. Benedict XVI famously, someone said to him, Holy Father, you can just order it. You're the Pope. And he said, my authority stops at that doorway. So that's what, so there's definitely a machine that the Pope is at the top of, but, he's kind of like the president, right? U.S. president. He has the power to do all kinds of things. But again, if you exercise that power in a way that threaten people, they have the means to sabotage your whole program. So here's the other inconvenient truth. A lot of these people have stuff on one another.
Yeah.
Government and church are the same that way, right? You wonder why you have a friend who's a bishop or a priest, and then he's talks to you a certain way in his living room, and then he has to talk another way out in the pulpit and stuff. A lot of these people are compromised, or that they're scared that the church will be hurt by stuff coming out. And some of it's just bad judgment, and some of it's, it's not necessarily sin or the scandals, of course, that we were scared of, the ultimate scandals of betrayal. Yeah. Sometimes they're just relatively minor. I didn't watch the video, but I saw on my YouTube stream that, Benny Johnson had something on Mike Huckabee, spending time with Mossad agents.
Yeah. Ooh.
Right? I didn't watch it. But I'm just saying, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, this stuff, this it gets really ugly. Like this, how these organizations, they'll get stuff on you. Here's a story that was put to me by a priest that worked in Rome. He said, imagine hypothetically, say you're a straight shooter, you're a wise guy, you're you're a holy man, you try to pray, you say your office, you do all these things. But you're not with the company. Like, in other words, they want to keep you in line. So they think long term. So an example would be, so imagine you're like an assistant to a cardinal, and you're introduced to this guy, and he seems like a nice person. Oh, hi, I'm Bill, or whatever, right? And you don't think anything of it. You shake his hand, you talk to him, and then he's walking on the street. You're in your little cafe having a cappuccino, and there's this guy Bill. Oh, can I sit with you, Father? Oh, sure. You're talking, and you become friends. You find some common interests. You build up a friendship, and then one day you're at a reception, and you've met the guy like 8 times, right? He comes up and hugs you and you're like, maybe you're not a hugger, but even so, if a guy, 8 times, you're going to be saying, okay, that's a little weird, but whatever.
Right? Yeah.
And then when a Cardinal McCarrick kind of figure comes to you and needs a favor and you refuse, then they show you the pictures. And meanwhile, all the pictures have been taken of you. Well, here you are with Bill at coffee. Here you are hugging. Here you are. Oh, by the way, here's Bill with flowers at your doorstep at 2 a.m. That seems odd. Why would he be at your apartment at 2 a.m? You're like, what? I didn't do any of this.
Yeah, right.
So, so intelligence services do this all the time. Well, the oldest intelligence service in the world is Vatican. So you go ahead, and I mean, again, it's hard to know where conspiracy theory begins and truth is as well. But look at Cardinal Pell and the millions of dollars that were wired from the Vatican. No one to this day has explained adequately what that money was. Several $1 million went to a private security firm in Australia. Next thing you know, he's set up on Trump charges and in jail when he was auditing the Vatican bank. Then he gets exonerated after a big rigmarole, and then he passes away. Again, some people wonder under whatever circumstance. So why is that all? Why would the Vatican send several $1 million to Australia that didn't go to churches? Right. So there's funny business, but you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Some people would say, well, you don't throw the faith is not wrong because there's bad people there. Of course, the devil's going to tempt people that are already in positions of power with the church. So we got to expect it. The church has always had its corruptions from day one. Look at Acts 5. the first part of Acts 5 showed donors that were basically they were killed early because they right.
That's right.
So
Didn't like God strike him dead or the Spirit struck
yeah,
him dead?
absolutely.
Because he was
not because they were
money.
not because they weren't generous, but because they lied about their generosity and they weren't generous.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so the thing is that the church has had its corruption from the earliest days, of course, Judas, but before that. And you can't tell me in the early days, again, poor Peter gets it because he's of Christ denial before the cock crew. But every one of those apostles had to grow into one another and their understanding of our Lord, and they all had their imperfections and they all had their sin.
Of course.
And so they became holy because God made them holy. But they were just like people like you and I, and that's the same. We're work in progress. God helps us become the saints we're meant to be, right?
That's right. That's right. But then you throw that on top of the whole ape church prophecy, and so on top of that, so that it gets even worse.
I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial here. I know that'll come as a big surprise. Me say something obnoxious or controversial.
No,
but so I'll give the disclaimer first. All right. Well, the trauma trigger. No, the disclaimer is that I think we're on uncharted ground, and every single one of you watching this. Okay, I don't care whether you're Novus Ordo, you're a Sedevacantist, you're a traditional that goes to Fraternity St. Peter or the Institute, or you go to Pius X, you go Roman Catholic or what have you. If you are trying to just follow what God wants and restore the faith and hopefully our social order, then you and I are on the same page. And when we banter about little differences, that's what they are. They're little differences. A future pope or our Lord himself will sort out these differences. Right now, there's a lot of hullabaloo. The devil keeps even traditionals constantly fighting at one another. Look at Catholic Twitter. And I'm guilty of it a little bit too, but I try never to criticize fellow traditionals. I am a little hard on the Novus Ordo because I just want to wake people up. But most of my priest friends are Novus Ordo because I went to school with them, right? And a couple classmates are bishops in the Novus Ordo. And so the thing is that I don't condemn people for just trying to serve what God wants. But what I'm saying is, like, the group that I sort of get a little pokey chest with are the ones that they sort of stick up their nose at me, Felix, and they say, well, you left the church. I'm part of the church. I'm part of the true church. And you left it. And it's like, whoa, camel. Whoa, camel. You know what? First of all, we can turn that around. Did Athanasius leave the church when he spoke out against Arianism? They threw him out of the church. Was he really outside the church? Was St. Vincent Ferrer? Was he outside the church? Joan of Arc? Was she outside of the church when the authorities turned on her? No, she was not outside the church. God determines that, right? So the thing is that that's point one. Point two, I always look at the parable of the talents. There's people in the Novus Ordo that think, well, as long as they go to mass in the Novus Ordo and they say a rosary once in a while, and that they're going to go to heaven because there's no salvation outside the church. What salvation inside the church has to be also understood through John 1. He came into his own and his own received him not. People, that wasn't just for the Hebrews 2,000 years ago. He comes to his own reject him all the time. They have Pachamama. Oh, Father, that's Our Lady of the Amazon. No, it's not. It's a demon goddess that accepts human sacrifice that you are complicit with. You're schismatic. Oh, am I? Are you complicit with the State Church of China? Well, what's that? Do you know what the State Church of China does? They take down the crucifixes. They put up pictures of Dear Leader. They take down the Stations of the Cross. They put up the scenes of the Communist Revolution. So the Novus Ordo people are in communion with that. I'm not complicit with that. Now, I'm not saying that makes me better or vice versa.
No,
I'm saying it only to illustrate that we're on uncharted ground and none of us has any position to be hurling rocks at one another if we're just trying to build what was lost, okay? So you have to do what you believe to the best of your informed conscience. The key word is informed. You hear both arguments, right? And this is a lost art, Felix, in this day and age. You can love somebody and you can be friends with somebody and disagree with them. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
but
right.
It's the weirdest thing. Like in the 21st century, there are so many people that if you don't agree with their understanding of the faith, well, then you're rejecting their judgment. You're rejecting their their love of God. You're rejecting. No. We all do with what we've been given. We all do the best, hopefully. And the question is, when we make our decisions, are we doing it to serve and please God out of fear of him? Or are we trying to make ourselves more comfortable? Are we trying to serve man? So that's the big thing. And God knows the heart. St. Vincent Ferrer chose the wrong pope. He served the wrong pope. He's still regarded as a saint in the church today because he intended to serve the true God, and God used him to work many miracles, and he was a schismatic. So there you are, and he's regarded even by the mainstream church as a saint. So Athanasius thrown out 5 times, a saint. So, Joan of Arc, the church authorities condemned her.
Burned.
And she's a saint. So, and there's a number of examples. So let's not be too hard on one another. There's a common enemy, and the enemy are the people that are against the triune God. And that doesn't mean all seculars. There's lots of seculars that can be allies, people of goodwill. So I think of someone like a Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert. I was always very impressed with him. He's not Christian, but he has a great deal of respect for people who are sincerely Christian. And he once got his audience very angry at him because he has a lot of engineers that watch his stuff, because Dilbert used to be sort of like an engineering cartoon in a way, making fun of the cubicle firm and the engineering firm. And so he's got a lot of atheists, that watch his stuff, and they got really angry at him because he said, if I have a choice of hiring a Christian, a devout Christian, and a non-believer for the same job, and all things being equal, I'm going to hire the Christian. And people freaked out. And you know what he said? Now, this should make some of you Christians think, okay? Because what he said was, if I can go into business with somebody who thinks they could go to hell for lying to me, that's the kind of person I want around me.
Yeah.
And then I thought, when he said that, I thought, oh my goodness, how many Christians lie all the time? They lie all the time. They don't think. So, actually, that's one of the key delimiters between, I think, a traditional Christian and a modernist, is that we take that you must tell the truth thing pretty darn seriously.
That's right.
And you can deflect. And I tell people too, we should do a show on this sometime, Felix. It'll be awful. People would take me out of context.
I need it.
Bishop Meikle is teaching people how to lie ethically. No, but you could deflect. You can change the subject. You can ask another question. These are pattern interrupts that
remain silent.
Remain silent. Eat a lot of curry beforehand, and then pass a little gas and run to the washroom. No one's going to remember the question. There's things you can do. You don't have to lie.
Oh Lord, I'm the worst. I am the worst. Guilty. I'm do the pretty white lies sometimes. I'm a lot better with it, but that point still, oof. And then I feel like I'm trying to catch it. That's the worst thing, because it's lifelong habit sometimes. So after the fact, and I was like, oh, what am I doing? But there you go. I don't know if you're ready for comments. We got tons of them.
Oh, good.
Or let me see.
Yeah, let them rip.
All right.
Hello,
so
Norm.
First comment. Norm says, hi, I hope I do not sound like a broken record, but wow, this is such a great topic. This discussion should provide some marvelous insight. Spot on. Thank you so much, Norm. And make sure to hit like if you haven't already. It's definitely, we need it to help the channel and maybe get some traction in the algorithm.
Yeah, likes are helpful, and also the comments are good. The comments in the chat are good, but also in the replay, those comments below, they really help a lot.
What am I doing?
Because they show YouTube that people have engaged in that topic. Even if you just say, hey, hi, great stream, or your hair looked funny today, Bishop, or something like that, that's fine. Does it look funny today? I don't know. But anyway.
No. It's fine. It's fine. All right. So let's see. Dale with the Go team, and always I say go Dale. Thank you so much. Monsignor Haygood, evening from Nebraska, folks. Good evening, Monsignor Haygood. I hope you're doing well. It's always awesome when you're on, especially.
Yeah, most definitely. I figure if he was able to stay up, I don't know if he's still on the later stream, but I'm sure he has lots to say about some of the stuff we have, because he's hoisted on that.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
All right, so let's see. What do we got? So Norm says, in the worldly commercial level, the idea is that new is always better than old. I tend to look for older editions of books for more accuracy.
Right.
Yeah. No, I definitely. I guess growing up can confirm that new was always better. New was always better. Let me see. Norm also says Pierre Teilhard de Chardin is often cited in New Age circles. I know because I spent years in that milieu.
Yeah, he's the real bridge. It's funny. Like it's funny because Jesuits had this reputation for years of being like the Marines of the church, and people were scared of them. And then the Jesuits in the latter part of the 20th century, and maybe a little bit before, they started getting really flaky, and they were really, really strange. It's the exception that proves the rule. So I had a couple professors who were Jesuits. I'm thinking 3 over the years, 4. Anyway, and some of them were pretty good, and some of them were crazy. Like there was one guy in particular, really crazy. He had this long beard like Santa Claus, and he, at the middle of mass one day, he just flapped his arms and he said, "And the lords and the ladies will dance in the field," and he did a pirouette. And we were like, "What is that?" I know. I still don't know to this day.
Oh, wow.
I have absolutely no idea. But Jesuits are, especially the ones that get into the social justice stuff, they're just crazy. And the the current head, and you guys can fact check me if it's Socha or something. Anyway, he is colloquially, he's a baptized Buddhist. They don't have baptism, but he's like an initiated Buddhist. And he's kind of like one of these guys that like collect citizenships. They're still American, but they have all these passports. I guess he's hedging his bets. He was initiated Buddhist as well. So these Jesuits are sort of like a bridge between the New Age and the syncretists and the Eastern religions, and it's just a lot of craziness. And so they certainly don't reflect their reputation that they had centuries ago.
Oh man, no. Let me see.
There is the odd exception. There was a Jesuit in Florida that I don't know if he founded the school or whether he was a chaplain. I'm hearing it like third hand, but apparently modern Jesuit, did a really good job, learned the traditional mass, helped build up this boys' school or something outside of Tampa. So some of you might know. Dale might know, actually. He'd know more than me. In fact, he probably knows the priest.
Yeah, that's right. And for those that are listening for the first time, I won't go too deep into it, but yeah, I went temporarily to a Jesuit high school, and yeah, I had a brother, Marist brother, basically, who taught us religion and was teaching us that more, like it's metaphoric, and then there's literal, and then all this stuff. And then I had another Marist brother teaching me in another class about the Mahabharata and all. This is a Catholic school,
yeah,
and this is what they're teaching us.
So I'll scandalize some of you when I say this. I would sooner send a child to a Protestant school than most Catholic schools. And that's the reason. Because you know why? If you sent your kid, if you're Catholic and you send your kid to a Baptist school, they're at least Bible centered. And you go and you talk to the school, hey, I don't want any Catholic stuff. So, and most of them, they don't have an axe to grind anymore. It's not like the 1940s.
Right.
So the thing is, then you can at least tell your child, they're Protestant. They're not going to teach the faith. They have a different religion than we do. So when they come up with stuff that goes against what you believe, then talk to mom and dad about it. You can at least curate the religious, and the religious training will be separate anyway. And when they hear a Protestant talk about things of God, they're going to say, or a non-believer, you could send them to, like a secular school. They're just automatically, they're not going to take that teacher as an authority for their faith. They're going to say, oh, well, of course they're going to say different because they're Protestant. But if you send them to a modernist Catholic school, and even some of the traditional schools, they just take a lot of your money, and they don't necessarily produce a good Catholic result. And so the thing is that that Catholic school is saying they're the authority in Catholicism, not mom and dad, not necessarily your parish priest. They are the authority. And that's fine if you got a good school. Like again, if Dale's still on air, there's that Jesuit, and he was really, really good. And I one of his friends is a mutual friend of mine, and I know that this priest so well, and he's one of the holiest priests, if not the holiest I know. And if he thought this Jesuit was good, then he's good. And I trust my kid. You know, if I'd tell you to trust your children to, you know, a school like that had a priest like that. But unfortunately, these are the exceptions that prove the rule, and they're all very expensive. I don't know how. On one hand, the church encourages large families. On the other hand, it's very hard to afford the schooling for a large family.
Right. All right, let me see. Next, we have Monsignor Higa. It says, Sheen pre-1969 is a good read, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in 1946, he mentioned the ape church, and he really borrowed from some previous private revelation, but he sort of, you know, everybody remembers Fulton Sheen talking about the ape church. And it's funny because Archbishop Sheen is such a polarizing figure in tradition. So the two things that will always get people wound up is Archbishop Sheen and the Divine Mercy. I had someone text me about Divine Mercy today. It was pretty funny. But anyway, no, so those are the two big things. And Sheen, like I got a Twitter friend, and whenever I quote Sheen, I get this paragraph. Oh, you know, he was horrible. He was like, he went with the Novus Ordo afterwards. It's like, okay. Just because someone, you know, was not good in all aspects does not mean they can't. Like, you know, I'm sure Benjamin Franklin was a deist, so he wasn't Christian, but no. I'm sure he said a lot of true things too.
He said a lot of true things, but right. I'll tell you what, only because you brought up the name, I heard he was kind of grimy person in real life, you know. But
was he? I don't know. I don't know anything about him other than
I don't know.
He was well learned and he was a deist. That's all I know. Well, and an inventor and a writer.
The electricity thing.
I don't know anything about his life.
Apparently, the whole electricity story, and do your own research, folks, and correct me if you know that for a fact if I'm wrong. But that wasn't him. He actually bought the story, and he had mentioned from someone else, and you know, kind of took credit for it. You know, stuff like that.
There's all this sort of you know, people saying like the original Nikola Tesla versus Edison, and all this. Like, there's a whole bunch of craziness.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I find interesting is both Canada and the U.S. claim Alexander Graham Bell. And he did his summer up in Nova Scotia in Badek, and he the first airplane that flew in Canada, he had the Silver Dart, and he invented the hydrofoil and the phone, of course. And but Graham Bell is everybody remembers him for the phone, but he had other inventions, and both Canada and the U.S. kind of share them. It's kind of like the North American martyrs. So up in Canada, there's a Canadian martyr shrine, but they're also the same martyrs for North America because there wasn't a border when these missionaries were running around.
That's right. Let me see. Okay, that's me. Norm says the Narnia Chronicles actually go beyond being mere children novels, but great adult moral lessons. I read it as an adult and was very impressed.
Absolutely. So take Norm's advice, folks. Like, and my advice too. Like, ideally, you have a nephew or a niece or a grandchild or someone to read them to, and then read aloud to. It's more fun that way. But even if you don't, there's like a 1-volume set you can get on Kindle. I appreciate what Norm says about getting real actual books, and the older the better. And that said, you know, with me, here's where we all have our square circles or hypocrisies. Here's mine. I used to have books and books and books and books and books. And I mean, there still is in the building I'm in. But after all these moves, that eventually I migrated everything to Kindle.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? That's not wise, but it's also, but I'm just admitting to you a little square circle or hypocrisy on me. But I agree with Norm. Ideally, you have them in a physical book form. In the Narnia Chronicles, again, you can get it. There's a 1-volume edition. It's not expensive, and as an adult, I really encourage you to read it. You'll learn. You know, here's the other thing, especially if you are academically inclined and you're used to studying theology and everything is sort of processing through the mind. Narnia has this unique way, and Lord of the Rings is kind of like it as well. it's a kind of fiction that accesses the mind and the heart.
Yeah.
So it's a unique writer who can do that well. I certainly can't do it. So my hat's off to C.S. Lewis for creating that wonderful thing. And Norm, if you're still on air, what do you make of the world right now in the silver chair? Am I on, or do you think we're not quite there at the silver chair yet? And we'll wait for Norm's response and just go through the
we got
comments.
We got more. I do gotta say, Lord of the Rings, that one kind of surprised me that it was kind of like allowed by the church, like it didn't get like that same treatment. I didn't realize the parallels, and especially when I guess when you get into like the Silmarillion and some of like more the ancient lore stuff of Lord of the Rings, there's supposed to be parallels with like the fall of Lucifer and God and all this, and
Right.
really interesting stuff. But are you a fan of the movies, the books, Lord of the Rings as well, or
I read the books as a very young man, like 11 or so, age 11 or so, and then the movies. Just from a technical point of view, I understand they had to take certain liberties with anytime you make a movie adaptation, but just the whole idea that all those actors had basically lived there for so long, and then they just filmed all the movies all in one blow, and just the sheer logistics of it in New Zealand to do it, and
those are masterpieces.
I think it's well done, but it's kind of funny, if you ever want to do like a Lord of the Rings fest, I mean, it would take you a weekend, so it's
no, I like yearly I have to watch the trilogy, the extended edition, like the 6-hour cuts, whatever. I don't care.
I get a kick out of these guys, and maybe some of you do too. These scholars, these Tolkien scholars, and just watching them fight. Like I don't have a horse in the race. I just like watching them. So but they talk about Tom Bombadil and all this business, and all the different theories about what he's supposed to represent, and it's interesting. And then just of course the whole Hobbit dynamic. But there's so many people want to just live in the Shire. They don't realize there's this looming army of Mordor coming for them, and that's what it's like, folks. Like, I mean, people just think, oh, I just go to church on Sunday and I watch my favorite Catholic YouTuber. It's like, man, oh man, like gird your loins, get ready, right? Like the spiritual warfare, it's all hitting the fan, man.
That's beautiful that that you brought that up, because especially when you get to the end of Lord of the Rings, spoiler alerts for those who didn't see it, they return back to the Shire, and it's kind of unchanged, all right. Yep. But they themselves have changed. They had to fight to preserve it. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna get goosebumps. I'm like counting the days till it's time to pop in Fellowship of the Rings, because it's around that time. I think it's a good Christmas watch, but the
thing, Felix, what you mentioned sort of strikes me too, is that once you sort of engage in some of this spiritual stuff, right, which anybody watching here is at least mildly curious, and once you engage in it for a bit, and you see what's going on in the world, the secular order and the ecclesial order, the same attacks are like the source is the same, right? And once you sort of look and you see it, you can't really unsee it. And so the thing is, you can't really just go back to the Shire and smoke your pipe and stick your feet up and not worry about it anymore. Like until it changes your way you look at the whole world, which is why I think the Frodo character had to go and leave. Right? He outgrew the Shire as much as he loved it. And
he was permanently changed from that journey and that burden of sin, right, or the ring on him.
So one of the themes that come from me, and some of you guys will like it, and some of you will just probably roll your eyes, but I talk about a born again Catholic and how it's different than our non-denominational friends view it.
Right.
And what does a born again Catholic mean? A born again Catholic is it's when you have the realization. So for us, most of us are baptized as infants if you're Catholic. And but there's a point when you really make that faith your own, you give the full assent to it. And for me, a born again Catholic is one who learns a hatred of sin. and you really reject personal sin, and you do that morning offering, that evening examination of conscience. And I think of Saint Augustine Confessions, if you haven't read that, and that's a very good book. He's very it's rare in the sense that you have a saint airing his own dirty laundry, right? And then the other thing is,
that's right.
Yeah, and it's encouraging. It's encouraging.
It is.
And the other thing is that, so when you St. Dominic Savio, everybody loves Carlo Acutis now or whatever, and I just roll my eyes. Poor man. I hope he's up there in heaven praying for us and the craziness on earth. But I just I lament a devotion to Carlos. Not anything against him. It's that people are forgetting the saints like Dominic Savio or the Cristero saints, and people that really did something heroic in the face of evil, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is that Dominic Savio said death rather than sin, and he meant venial sin. So that struggle, when you finally level up, like we all go through a maturation in our faith, right? There's a honeymoon period, and first there's a fight, you fight against it, and then there's a honeymoon period when you accept it, and then eventually you come down to earth, and you start to realize that the first commandment, the only thing you can give back to God is a life well lived with his help, good help. And so there becomes people that are inclined to holiness that God is helping. You're attracted to holy things and holy activities and holy people. And you're repulsed by the evil. That doesn't mean that you don't help people. But what I'm saying is that you end up like Dominic Savio at age 11 saying death rather than sin, meaning he would rather have the end of his physical life than lie to a policeman whether he'd been speeding. Right? So when you put it in that phrase, you're like, well, wait a second. No, he wasn't just saying that. He meant it. Right? And when that's really in you, then that's what I call being a born again Catholic. It doesn't mean you're running around slapping people saying you're saved. It means that you realize that you want to love what God loves and hate what God hates. Now, God loves his enemies even, but he hates their sin, if that makes sense. So it's hard, but once you get there, it's easy to say. It's hard to get it in the heart, but once it's in the heart, that's when you're born again. And you see the world differently, and you can't go back. You can't go back. All of the things that you used to take pleasure in that were maybe right on the line, they're no longer pleasurable. They no longer have your interest. You just want to please God. And so some people don't get there until they're 80. Some people are there at 11 years old, like Dominic Savio, and most of us are works in progress, right? So,
oh God, yeah. Hopefully, if I figure it out 5 minutes before the end, I'll take it.
There you go.
Forgive me, got a little frog in my throat. All right, so Monsignor Haygood says a Sacrosanctum Concilium is the only constitution that passed unanimously, and it's the one that they don't follow the most. It's odd. Can you do you know what that is?
Yeah, so that is the primary Vatican document on the liturgy, and it's actually very faithful in many respects. The only kind of weird thing, and it's not any showbreaker, it mentions the altar should be freestanding so you can incense it all the way around, but it doesn't say anything about which way to face, and there's no communion in the hand or all this crazy stuff that later came on. If you read the document, it's actually not that long. I mean, so it's not like you're dealing with a 3-volume book or something.
Oh, right.
But it's interesting. There's nothing in it that's really contrary to tradition that everybody signed it. It wasn't a problem. It's the interpretations afterwards that were the problem. And the main issues with Vatican II are not with that document per se. It's the main issues with Vatican II are it's in the area of religious liberty, but that's beyond the scope of what we're really talking about today.
All right. Lee, hey Lee, she says sorry.
I have the bunny skins today, Lee.
There we
if
go.
You're still on air. We're down the rabbit hole with
the cheers. Skins. That's right. So
right.
Monsignor Haygood says the Pope is controlled by the Jesuits. Usually, Leo being an Augustinian was a total shocker.
Yeah, we could have 3 shows on this one. It's funny. My mentor, I mentioned, he worked for Ecclesia Dei. He was an OSA. and he had to leave because of some moral issues with the order. And so this is, again, people don't want to talk about this stuff because you'll scandalize people, but it is what it is. There's a mess, and they haven't learned their lesson. And unfortunately, there's some groups, the Novus Ordo, the joke is the Novus Ordo has an issue with chasing adolescent males, and some of the traditionals have issues with the 20-year-old females, right? The thing is, chastity, regardless of whether you're celibate or single or married, chastity is living your sexuality in a holy way, according to your state of life. And the church doesn't really talk about it anymore, not really. And when it does, it just gives a brief nod. But, chastity is lived. It takes a huge weight off a lot of the foolishness of the modern age. And, we've got to do better. And it's as a people, as a baptized people, for whatever reason, it's fallen out of favor in this age to talk about it.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of reasons that are all around us. So, it's been beaten out of us culturally. It's definitely a lesson I feel that I learned way too late. Like, I'm 40 something. It's like, okay. Oh, okay, good.
People confuse chastity with celibacy, right?
No, correct. You're 100% right. Yeah.
So that's totally different. That's a different thing. But again, that's beyond the scope of getting into it today. But
another
I think Father Martin, our own Father Martin Navarro on Restless Heart Media has some stuff on the different states of life.
I'm glad you brought him up. I am so glad you brought him up. I heard his sermon. Did you hear his sermon this past
He
month?
always sends them to me, but I didn't hear them.
Oh man.
Yeah,
it was so good. I recommend everyone do it. Basically, it's calling me out for being a total piece of crap. No. In all seriousness, it's him going through the commandments and just kind of breaking down what's a sin and what it's very technical in a way, and plus there's more stuff too, so I'm embellishing, but
so if you haven't already, just put in the search box Restless Heart Media and Father Martin Navarro, and he's actually, I did a couple little collaborations with him. We'll have to resume it at some point. We were going through the Imitation of Christ, and he also went through the Introduction to the Devout Life, and then of course his sermons, which are excellent. And by all means,
he's no nonsense. I like him a lot, man. He's like
good.
I gotta listen to more.
Well, speaking of which, you can meet both Father Martin and myself in person in February. If those of you, especially if you live in a cold climate, this is the perfect time to come to Florida, the Tampa Bay area, and you just go to www.prochadamus.com, and I have a slide somewhere. I don't have it loaded on the StreamYard today, but if the Prochadamus Gala, so you can come and visit us and hear some good speakers, and we'll feed you well, and look forward to meeting some of our viewers. Actually, you know what? Some of my Twitter followers. I've met a couple of my Twitter followers that have traveled, like they were here on business or other things. They said, "Hey, I think Michael's around here." So it's kind of neat. It's neat to meet people that you kind of become friends with online, and it's nice to meet them in person.
Yeah, that is cool. Let me see. Monsignor Higa said every other person in the Vatican has the post-nominals SJ.
Right.
What's SJ? Well, what?
Society of Jesus. It's the
Society of okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Hold on.
Yeah.
Both C.S. Lewis and Narnia Chronicles and the Space Trilogy are my favorite multi-volume novels.
I have to read the Space Trilogy, Norm. I have a friend, Alain Blandin, and he said they were actually his favorite, and he's theologically educated too. And I have not yet read them, so I should.
Yeah. Meanwhile, growing up, I was big into Stephen King, and that was the big one. But now looking back at, because
if you read his Twitter, you should feel rather silly now.
Oh man! No! I separate. Listen, if that was the case,
I'm teasing you. You know what? I can try. I can say something good about almost anybody, even if I dislike them. And I got to tell you, one of the things I admire about Stephen King, who would ever thought you'd hear me say this?
Yeah.
But he had his morning ritual of how he works. So basically, he gets up, he gets a coffee, he sits in front of the typewriter, and he just writes like for all morning, and he just does it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's his thing. So that's good. And I have actually, well, I don't know how much of I would attribute to him, but he was certainly one of the voices in favor of that idea. And that's exactly like how I like to start the day. I do my morning offering right away, and then depending on mass schedule and whatever, you get your stuff that you need done, your prayer done, and then you wail away. And I try to keep, ever since I came to Florida, I always lived in colder climates, Oregon and up in British Columbia and like, and but the thing is that when I came to Florida, I don't know whether it's me in my middle age or whether it's a Florida thing, but about 2 to 3 times a week, I will nap in the afternoon. I was never a napper, but I don't know whether it's age related or. Do you nap, Felix?
Oh, I'm a incessant chronic napper. Yeah, it's serial napper.
Well, as long as it's not like, well, actually, it's more easy to describe when I'm awake.
yeah, pretty much, right?
I'm a night owl by nature. I'm a really funny guy that way, like funny, strange, not funny, haha. And when I was in the Navy, it was really good because if you were on a 1 and 2 watch, I only had to use one of my periods for sleep because I only need a very low amount of sleep. 2.5 hours is fine. And then I later found out that's actually not healthy. Like if you only run on 2.5 hours, that your life expectancy is cut quite a bit.
Yeah,
and so I sleep a little bit more now that I'm older, but 6-7 hours typically. And if I'm sick, I'll really sleep. Like I'll be out for 12 hours or whatever. But if I'm not sick, it's about 6 hours. But anyway, all this to say, I was a night owl in seminary. I was running on 3 hours sleep. And in my undergraduate, I went to school full time and I worked full time. And then I helped out the church on my days off. And I lived in a rectory that we had duties. So I went from that to the seminary, and then so I had a lot less demands on me actually at the seminary. So what happened is that I, 2-3 hours, and I'm up and I'm reading, and it was just kind of funny because to go from that to having a nap in the afternoon is really crazy. And so when I was in seminary, though, because I was a night owl, it was awful, morning prayer. And I'm going to get some of my traditional friends really angry at me, but this is what it was. We had this beautiful organ, and the organ would blast and the pews would vibrate. There's this beautiful experience. You have this high ceiling and beautiful stained glass and huge marble reredos and huge crucifix. Beautiful. The smell of the incense lingering, and just awesome place to pray. And the organ would blast, and then sometimes I'd be a little late, and you'd hear creak, the door would open, and I would sit. I'd get in trouble from the rector later. But anyway, so some people were really irritated at that. They got really angry. And I found out later because my friend Father John was on the formation committee, and he told on them. And he said, yeah, they were all crapping on you, that showed a lack of commitment or something like that. Or that's just night owl, and I lose track of time. So anyway, I had this professor, this priest professor. He was an OMI, Oblate of Mary Immaculate, and he was really funny. He was from Sri Lanka, but he spent most of his time in Canada. And he did this thing with his hand. He go, yes, my dear friends, eat your food, clean your bowl, go to sleep. And you'd be like, what the heck is this? But it made sense. He basically said, take care of your business, or it'll catch up on you and you'll be toast. Anyway, he rises to my defense at this formation meeting. And he goes, yes, my dear friends, this man, Mikul, is a very holy man. Wait for it. he says, because he thinks because I look sleepy that I sleep a lot. No, I actually only slept 2 or 3 hours. Yes, if he is sleeping, he is not sinning. And if he's not sinning, you see where he's going with it? So, he was just being funny. God rest his soul. That poor priest has passed away, Father Joachim Pillai. And
but
but
that's so
anyway,
cool.
yeah, oblate. 13 languages he spoke, Felix.
Oh,
yeah. But anyway,
right.
sorry, I'm not rambling. You got comments there?
No worries. All right, so yeah, we got that. Monsignor Haga says, I'm here for the long haul. I've got a meeting at midnight with a bishop.
Oh, good. Well, there you
Woo!
go. Yeah, the joys of time zone. So yeah, it's, you know, I almost wish that we were all just on Greenwich mean time, because I mess up whenever I have a meeting in Australia. I get the whole day off, like, you know. So I'm awful. Yeah.
That's what I'm giving everyone for Christmas. He said that about 20 minutes ago. What were we talking about?
I don't know. Oh, okay, here we go.
What is this? AMDG FR Hermes? Was at Jesuit High
Father
School
Hermes.
in Tampa. Oh, Father Hermes. Okay, yeah. Father Hermes was at Jesuit High School in Tampa for 17 years. Father Palka and I say a good Jesuit. I'm a 1975 grad.
Yeah, they exist, cool. Right? Like, I mean, when you meet them,
I'm sure.
Like, there's a lot of neat stuff to say about Jesuits. First of all, they're all educated. Like, there's like 12-year formation. Like most priests, we have 8 years, right? Jesuits have 12, and they often have graduate degrees, and often in scientific disciplines. The Vatican Observatory is Jesuits. They're an academic crowd. There's a lot to admire about them. Unfortunately, they also have like a New Age division or something. They're all crazy. So those are the ones that end up in retreat houses and, you know, dancing with the lords and the ladies in the field in the middle of mass. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let me see. Next comment is Frozen. Give me 1 second.
No problem.
There we go. All right. Monsignor Haygood. My Uncle Joe taught at Jesuit High School in Tampa from 64 to 67. Then he came back in 96 until he retired in 08. He passed shortly after. Wow.
So he just missed Dale. Uncle Joe might have taught Dale if he was only,
That is weird. Yeah, it's like they were avoiding each other. All right. Now, let me see. Norm says, regarding the silver chair, I believe Prince Brillian would be proud of you breaking free from that cursed chair.
That's right.
I guess, I'm guilty because I don't even read it. Now it's audiobooks. If I'm going to read something, it's going to be an audiobook.
Well, listen to the audiobook of the silver chair, Felix. You're going to get a kick out of it.
Really? Yeah. You know what?
What we need is a Marshwiggle, and that'll make sense as soon as you listen to it.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Regarding the silver chair, I believe. Oh, yeah, I already read that. Lee, I have a Kindle with 263 books on it, so I can take all my books with me when I travel.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly why I switched to it, Lee's, because the thing is, and then I'm looking for stuff, and it's great to have all those resources, and you can just download or on your tablet, whatever. Like, it sits in the cloud, and then you download what you need, and
then travel a lot.
I have Kindle copies of almost everything I have in physical form now.
No, you know what? It's like same way me as a gamer, right? Like I have all my games, like I buy them digitally, and like that's a big no. Everyone's saying you should have a physical copy. I was like, yeah, well, for what? So I have to get up and actually change a disc,
Yeah, no one does anymore. I got a kick out of that. Like, for a while, there were those stores, and they would have like they were just selling an empty box essentially. It was a key.
Yeah,
Steam key or whatever.
But it's same thing with movies. Yeah, it's like, you know what? It's like I've lived through the DVDs, and like I miss VHS tapes. But DVDs, they were the worst. They look great until there's a scratch in it, then they're just no good. That's it. It's a wrap. One scratch, you're done. Let me see. Norm says, I have a serious confession to make. I love the movies, but I tried many times to read Lord of the Rings, but could not complete The Hobbit, having to push myself even through that book. Norm?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Norm on this, that it's dense. It's you gotta be in the right mood to read it. Like, Lewis is a lot easier to read for sure. But you know what? Some people, Norm, say that Benson's like that, Lord of the World.
Yeah,
they have a real hard time getting through Benson. And
I got through it though.
Everybody that said that, every time I've that's come up in a group. Someone suggested audiobook, and the audiobook works really well for the people that find those, find that kind of hard.
Norm, and I'll tell you what, me too, man. I could not get through Fellowship of the Ring the first time I actually, haven't read it since. But
I almost wonder, guys, would it not be easier to read now that you know the basic thing of the movie? Like, it takes away some of the cognitive load. Like, he's just so dense with all the information. And there's songs, and there's this, and there's that. And there were people complaining that all the songs didn't make it in the movie. It's like,
oh yeah, come on.
Like I say, watching Tolkien fans fight, it's funny. It's just like
that is ridiculous.
Now there's a pseudocryphal story that could be total BS. Okay, so take it for what it's worth. But the story goes like this: that C.S. Lewis and Tolkien were friends in real life. That part's true. And they used to go to this little pub, and they had this little. They sort of nicknamed their little group the Inklings, and they would share each other's writings and ideas. And someone said, and it could be completely false, and it could be that thing like where they said Mr. Rogers was a SEAL or something. No, he's not. It wasn't. He was a Presbyterian minister. But anyway,
that's right.
But they apparently Lewis was sharing some of his stuff, and Tolkien said, "Oh no, not another bleeping elf." Well, I don't know if they tossed crap at one another, but I would imagine, knowing how guys tease one another with various things, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, no, for sure. But no, I couldn't get it. The movies, I could do the movies. I am gonna revisit the because I did do The Hobbit on audiobook, and that was fun. And I'm gonna do the actual trilogy. I want to get through the Silmarillion and all that stuff, but I'll leave that nerd stuff for later. All right, let me see. Monsignor Haygood, the joy of times, said no one ever.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man, GMT Zulu time. I'm all for it. I'd like the whole world will just, you get used to it. You get used to it's like learning the 24-hour clock, it's hard for a week, and then it's like the back of your hand. And it's the same thing. It's GMT. We could get used to it. And then we get rid of all this daylight saving time and all this kind of stuff. Everybody just be on GMT. Yeah.
Yeah, I really cannot stand daylight savings. I think that is like the dumbest concept, at least for now. Maybe it made sense back then, but even then, when it was proposed, it was dumb.
All it does, and then what's worse is some states and provinces don't follow it. So now, you know what I mean? If you don't have a computer there, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, right. Let me see. Monsignor, very good. Ha ha ha. Benedictines, our entire life is one giant school. I'll never graduate, unfortunately. Oh, there Benedictines. Oh, yeah, that's right. I bet. Yeah,
my father was an educator, and he lamented anyone who ever thought they would no longer learned, they no longer were a student.
Yeah, right. Oh, Benedictines, is that a lot of exorcist stuff, right?
Say again?
That's a lot of exorcist stuff, right? Going on with the Benedictines.
There's certainly a lot of Benedictine exorcists. I think where you're getting that from is that the Benedictine cross is often used for prayers for spiritual protection. Yeah,
that's on my rosary. I have it. Yeah, so that's cool. And then plus there's the chant.
Yeah, Prisher's got a coffee cup with that for me. So there you go, Monsignor. We've got. I have the Benedictine symbol on my coffee cup at the parish.
That's my confirmation name, right? That's what I picked, was Benedict. So let's see. All right, Monsignor, my book is free on Kindle Unlimited. Oh, okay. Check out Monsignor Haygood's book for free on Kindle Unlimited. That's really cool. I've read Monsignor Haygood also said that I've read the whole of Tolkien, and I fall in it's Hollywood. Don't get your hopes up. Yeah.
Hey Felix, I'm going to tease something here. I'm not far. I'm just reaching. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just teasing. I don't even know if you can see it.
Oh, there it is.
There's my book. It's coming.
Ooh, that is
Exfiltration,
so
Escaping Make Religion.
That I will read.
But it's in serious edit. It's been first draft of that's been done 2 years ago. So I'm still working. But anyway, but hopefully I'll get it out before February.
So he says, Monsignor Hager says, I prefer UTC. What's that, UTC? Under the, if we're being honest. Oh, is that a time, UTC?
Yeah, I think that's the same thing, isn't it?
It's different from, it's not the same from
GMT.
is
it's not the same as Zulu time?
Let me see.
Felix, check the AI and sort us all out.
I know, right? I'm looking right now. UTC time right now is 3:37 a.m. Coordinated Universal Time.
And is that the same as GMT and Zulu?
Let me see. What is GMT?
While we're waiting for Felix to look that up, do you know there was a French move once upon a time to make like a decimal system of time? It never came on.
Thank God. That's the last thing I need.
Yeah.
So according, this says that Coordinated Universal Time (UTC) and Greenwich Mean Time (GMT) are often used interchangeably in casual conversation because they currently share the same time and have a 0-hour offset from the prime meridian.
Yep.
However, they are technically not the same.
Oh, well, what's different?
The GMT is a time zone historically based on the mean solar time at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, London.
Okay.
And is used as reference by some countries in Western Europe and Africa. In contrast, UTC is a precise time standard based on atomic time and international atomic time.
I learned something.
Leap seconds. They said leap seconds added to account for the Earth's irregular rotation,
right,
ensuring it remains synchronized with astronomical time. So is this gonna? That means if we follow this new schedule, we're not going to need a leap year.
Yeah, I know they have leap seconds and leap, but I think you still need a leap year even with the leap seconds.
You still need to do it. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of leap year. Leap year is, they're nothing but trouble in my book. Right, let me see what else we got. Oh yeah, not quite. I think it's a universal time core. Okay, cool. Yeah, we got that. Oh hey, what's up?
Josh.
Josh, yeah, you got a different
name,
but
we didn't recognize
definitely good to see you, man. Let me see. It's the aviation standard. Yeah. Okay, on the commercial side. Oh,
yeah,
and that's actually the last comment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know on the actually. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen normally like military orders and everything. They have the Z, so they call it Zulu. But I guess it's de facto it's same output but different source. It sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, that's the last comment. I don't know if what else we got.
There we go. So yeah, we didn't. I expected we might have a little bit more froth over the whole Leo thing, but I guess not. I guess we, in a sense, we're kind of preaching to the converted, Felix, at this point. That our adversaries will watch us in replay and hurl poo in the comments later.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's like YouTube is switching everyone to their unique handles.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay. Yeah. YouTube keeps fixing their.
What line is up?
Yeah, it just keep.
I'll check it later.
Their website as they break it more and more. You know, it's
well,
like,
speaking now, Joshua brought up something actually, Felix, is kind of neat, and it wouldn't merit a whole episode, but it probably does merit a 10-minute conversation, and that is the Twitter expose of all these people from India and Pakistan representing both extremes of American politics and hurling poo at one another and following us and retweeting us and doing all that. Any of you guys have anything to weigh in on that?
Oh man, no, I personally think that's hilarious. You know, I was like anything to keep us shadow banned, but I mean, like these guys end up getting like hundreds, thousands of followers and all this clout, and they're not even real Americans. Like, that's actually they should be embarrassed.
Yep.
Let me see. Well, yeah, I saw that. Monsignor Hager says, I think we all know Leo has gone the way of Francis. Nothing he does surprises me.
No, it's a shame, but what can you do?
Oh, you're on X, Father. Okay, I gotta find you then, Father Hager. I'm gonna follow you. Yeah. You'll see it come from one of my accounts. But 6,000 on Facebook.
Nice.
Ooh, okay. Oh, they probably hire a PR firm that outsources the work.
Oh, I
But
got something
YouTube,
to funny to tell you on this subject. Like I watch a lot of Canadian YouTubers because it's my homeland. I'll never go back. I'll probably never even visit. But the thing is I do care what happens, and so I watch these conservative YouTubers, and one of them brought up something when Twitter exposed where the counts are based. The Conservative Party and the Bloc Québécois, which is the separatist party in Quebec,
yeah,
they were their Twitters are domiciled in Canada. All the other parties are domiciled in the U.S. Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
But it makes sense because they probably hired U.S. PR firms, right? But
Yeah.
it is interesting. The Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois, they had Canadian-based accounts. It's like, to me, I'd be so embarrassed if I was a Liberal or NDP that my party's base isn't even in the same country. Mind you, I love, if you guys have any Canadian friends you'd like to stir the pot, perfect thing to say. So I had someone growling about, U.S. is this and U.S. is mean and all this. And I just said, you know what Prime Minister Carney and Donald Trump have in common? And they said, what? Both of them have over 90% of their investments in the United States.
Hey.
And it's funny because it's true, because with the disclosure, Carney has 91% of his investments in the U.S., which I just find amazing.
That's right. And Norm.
Okay, Norm, God love you.
Yeah, he says it's my bedtime, so I wish you all a good night.
Yeah, please like and comment, and that's great. I used to say people say like and subscribe and stuff, but it's actually the likes and the comments that are better for growth, because what happens is, and when Norm's going to bed, he doesn't have to hear it, but the way it works is that, and I mean, YouTube could change it tomorrow again, right? But what happens is when you send out a new video, it goes first to all your subscribers. And then if your subscribers watch it and they watch the whole thing through, then YouTube says, oh, well, see if you like it and you comment, these are like points for the math formula. And then it'll share out the video to more strangers and try to find a wider audience. And they test it for each little bucket. And then eventually it sort of goes exponential if it's a good video. But here's the problem. If you've got subscribers that they don't actually watch it, like they say, oh, well, yeah, I like Felix and Bishop Meikle, I'm going to subscribe to their channel, but you actually never watch us, you're hurting us, because what happens is that it sends it out, and then you're just like, oh, that's that silly Meikle and Felix again, I'm not going to listen to them. And you don't hate us, so you don't unsubscribe. But then what happens is because you didn't watch it, YouTube will just kill the video after 48 hours. So it's so now that I know that that's how it works, I don't encourage subscribers, because I figure people that like us are going to do it anyway, and then they'll get first notification when something comes out. And then but the comments and the even negative comments help, believe it or not. By all means, like, it's funny when I get all these Lofton fans. Yeah, by all means, hurl poo. That's great. It helps the algorithm. It just means that people are interested. So that actually helps us.
Yeah, and though we are hurling poo, we are not condoning Diwali. That is two different things.
You know what? Maybe next year at Diwali, we should do a Diwali episode.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
You think we'll get thrown off the channel?
Oh yeah, 100%.
We could go with the bang Vance, or with a plop, as it may be.
Yeah, JD Vance will be on cursing us out, for all we know. But I feel like I had something, and of course I forgot it. Let me see. Any other? Oh, all right. Let me see. Father Haygood. Okay, yeah. That's he's at Father Haygood for anyone else interested. And I followed him. He followed me back. That's awesome.
There you go.
What else do we have? I mean, I don't know if you want to end or so you'll be asking me to fill it in.
I think we got everything we were going to say tonight, unless anybody else has something they want to talk about or bring up. So, I try to find these. I'm glad Norm liked the topic. So it's always finding the topic. Ideally, I find it a few days before, so I can put it on the notification and people will know that it's out there a little earlier. But yeah, just the way the workflow is, like I'm already a week behind Substack and stuff. It's feast or famine. Well, it's never famine really.
Yeah.
It's always just, I'm not the best person organizing time, so I'm very rarely idle, but I'm I'm not the most efficient person in the world, unfortunately. So there's pluses and minuses to it, but yeah, I've got to get better at. It's funny though, that old devil really doesn't want us doing anything, because last couple of weeks I've had these weird technical things. Everything works fine except just before showtime, and it's always been this. Oh man, do I cancel and then remove it till tomorrow and see if I can get my technical issue done? But you say, well, why don't you check your stuff? Well, we do check the stuff. It works. But all it takes is like a cat come in and lay down on the wrong cord, and then it's slightly loose and you don't see it disconnected. And they do stuff like that. And there's a hood over the camera here, and the cat will sometimes jump on top of it and it bends it down and it'll mess up the camera. And they unplug cords and craziness.
Oh, biggest jerks. I love them. Don't get me wrong, but they can be such jerks. And the worst is when they knock stuff off the side of the table while not breaking eye contact with you.
Try 4 in the morning. 4 in the morning. Let's play tag over on the headboard.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Nothing ended well. Nothing ended well.
Yeah, right. Oh man, 5 days until Advent. Oh yeah,
yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, this year is just flying. I get into this kind of weird range, right? Because I always hear it's like, well, yeah, the older you get, the faster time goes. But this seems to be that something everyone's saying, that time is just not taking as long.
I blinked twice, and it's just incredible to me where it all goes. But yeah. I'm very proud of myself. I've been getting stuff crossed off the to-do list that has been on there for a very, very, very long time. And so I always feel like once you get on a roll of getting some of these things that have been in the basket for a while, because what happens with me, and anybody who's ever followed the productivity system, Getting Things Done by David Allen, I think it is, GTD. This was sort of the fad in the 90s, or not in the 90s, early 2000s. And it's really a good system. It's a smart system, but it's hard to sustain. And but anyway, it's a way of trying to organize your information and get so basically one of the rules is you make a decision when something comes in your inbox. If you can handle it in 3 minutes, you do it right away. And if you can't, then there's a system of where you file it and when it gets addressed. I try to do that. But what happens is he was trying to answer the problem that most of us have with time planning, that we focus on the urgent and not on the important. And I think Bishop Haygood's probably exactly in the same boat as I do. The nature of our job is a lot of stuff is unexpected and urgent, and it sometimes takes a disproportionate amount of time that you think it will, and it just blows up schedules. So it's kind of there's different ways you can handle it, but I'm getting better. I'm learning how to say no, and I realize that as I get older, there's an energy level component. So, one of the things, again, I got to get back into a number of years ago was very interested in just health fitness, not like bodybuilding. I'm not going to look like Bishop Barron at the gym, but I'd like to have a good heart rate, good, just healthy. I used to be able to do a fair bit of pull-ups and push-ups and the whole 9 yards, just the basic exercises, not worrying too much about the fancy stuff, and just for health. And so again, I use excuses, the Florida heat and the like, but there's 5 in the morning. It's beautiful for a brisk walk. So anyway, I have to, it's good to balance your physical, your psychological, and your spiritual health, because they all are related. And, but it's very easy that when you get swamped schedule wise, that you put this stuff off. And it ends up biting you on the butt later. And also, we're all creatures of habit in a different way. I find that if I get out of the habit of something for a couple days, it takes me a long time to get back into it. So
Yeah.
it's very key that if I start something important, I don't take a pause.
Yeah. No,
Scott
that's the
Adams is like
worst.
that too. He started a live stream. He calls it Coffee with Scott Adams, and he's been doing it, I think, 5 or 6 years or more. And God love him, he's got a terminal illness now. But you know, he does like a free portion, and then he does a before and after show for his subscribers. And but what he said is he does it 7 days a week. And people say, Scott, why don't you take a day off? And he says, I can't. He says, because if I take even it 1 day off, I won't do it. So he has to. He's very ritualistic that way, and I'm kind of built like that. Are you, Felix?
Yeah. If something happens and if I break a habit for a day or two, might as well just, just come up
It's
with a new
just done.
plan.
So it takes, depending
yeah.
on who you ask, it's 21 days or 30 days to make a habit. And then, of course, there's debate about all this. But the thing is, it takes about a month, right? And you want to, you know, virtue is a habit. I don't know if you've, again, a bigger topic than we have time for tonight, but virtue and vice are habits. So when you look at it that way, you realize, you know, I tell people too, if they're trying to get rid of a bad behavior, you got to replace it with a good behavior. You don't want to leave a vacuum. And it's the same way if you're looking at making life changes, you've got to. And then as I age, where I got on this rabbit hole was because I was thinking of energy, and then of course energy relates to exercise and nutrition. But also as you age, again, depending on the person, you got to be a little more aware of your energy level and manage that. So I don't, for example, I can answer email and stuff and low level stuff in the afternoon. But if it's an important meeting or something I need to be really hoisted in, I can't do afternoon because I mean, I'll be physically present, but nothing will absorb.
Right. No, I bet. All right. Let me see. Oh yeah, and Father Hagen says, "Not I. My life is chaos, but I found that I am the calm in most storms. It's a blessing."
Well, that's good. Yeah, I don't say I get too freaked out about too much, but you know, maybe I'm the opposite, like in the sense of not freaked out enough.
Yeah.
So I tell my clergy it's okay to nag me on certain things. I tell them that so they know they're not irritating me, because poor Father Martin's been waiting for some information from me for like 3 months, and so but he asked for it today, and it's like there's no way I'm getting to it today, but maybe tomorrow. So I'll get his stuff tomorrow. But at least I tell him when I will have room for it, you know.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely, if anyone gets a chance, check out the sermon that he dropped. It was very eye opening. Again, it's like, it's one of those where it's like, I'm nowhere near close to where I really want to be.
Yeah, well, if you haven't already, Felix, make
Lord.
sure you comment. Make sure you comment on this video and tell them.
Oh, I did. Like, no, yeah, definitely check it out. His stuff's good. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Let's see what else we got here. Monsignor Haygood's book. His book is The Middle Road, Lee. I think it's out now. I actually have to get it at some point. I will be buying that book.
Can you pull it up on the screen, Felix?
Yeah, I can find it. Let's go. Sorry, it's taking forever. I gotta.
Slow carrier pigeons.
Yeah, and not only that, it doesn't want to come up in the Archbishop. Okay. There we go. You share the screen. This is right here, The Middle Road. Paperback by Archbishop Jaden A.M. Haygood. It's actually There you go. Definitely order it. I will be ordering it soon. I have to get my money right. Pray for me that I get my money right. Usually it's super slow around this time of year for my day job. So, but other than that,
Well, that is good. It's neat to get your thoughts out there in the world and share them, and that's an accomplishment. So well done, Monsignor. Well, folks, I think we'll wrap her up, and I thank you for joining Felix and I and engaging with this adventure. And yeah, just all you have to do: morning offering, evening examine, build up to at least 30 minutes of mental prayer. 30 minutes is good for a layperson. And your Sunday Mass obligation. If you're not Catholic, the equivalent. Keep Holy God's Day, and and try to listen more than you tell God. So that's the thing. May we always seek the real, true, and good. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. God, our Father, Creator of all things, we praise and thank you for your gifts. We thank you for this time we had together. Help us to see ourselves, the world, the church, as you wish us to see. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. God bless you. God protect you. And I'll see you again next week.